What if the single most powerful thing you could do for your health had nothing to do with eating at all? What if I told you that stopping, just completely stopping, putting down the fork, closing the fridge, and walking away from every meal for 3 full days could rebuild your immune system from scratch, reverse years of cellular damage, sharpen your brain to a level you haven't felt since childhood, and potentially add years to your life? You'd probably think I was exaggerating. You might even think I was describing something dangerous, something only extreme athletes or monks in silent retreats would attempt. But what I'm about to walk you through is not a trend, not a wellness fad, and not an opinion. It is cold, peer-reviewed, Nobel Prize-winning science that reveals what your body is secretly capable of the moment you stop feeding it. Most of us have been taught to fear hunger. We've been told that skipping a meal will tank our metabolism, that our muscles will start eating themselves, that our blood sugar will crash and will become useless, foggy, and irritable. And maybe you've experienced some of that. The mid-afternoon headache when lunch ran late. The mood swing when dinner got delayed. The panic that sets in after just a few hours without food. But here's the thing no one tells you. That discomfort you feel in the first few hours of fasting is not your body breaking down. It's your body switching gears. And what happens after that switch is made is one of the most breathtaking biological stories ever written inside a human being. So let's start from the very beginning. The moment you put down your last meal and decide not to pick up another one for the next 72 hours. Imagine it's 7 in the evening, you've just had dinner, and you've made the decision, no more food until the same time 3 days from now. In the first few minutes, nothing feels different. Your body is still processing what you just ate, breaking it down, absorbing nutrients, sending blood to your digestive tract to handle the workload. Insulin is still circulating in your blood, helping move glucose from your meal into your cells for immediate energy. You feel full, maybe even a little tired, completely unaware that a countdown has just begun inside your biology. As the first few hours pass, your body starts drawing on its sugar reserves, glycogen stored in your liver and your muscles, and for a while, this system works perfectly. Your cells get the glucose they need, your blood sugar stays stable, and your body has no reason to panic. But glycogen isn't an infinite resource. Your liver can only hold roughly 100 grams of it, and your muscles carry another 400 to 500 grams, and at a normal resting metabolic rate, your body burns through all of it within 18 to 24 hours. So the clock is ticking, and when that supply runs low, something extraordinary begins. Your insulin levels start to drop, and this single event triggers a cascade of biological changes that most people will never experience in their lifetime, simply because they eat before any of it gets the chance to unfold. When insulin falls, the cells that store fat receive a signal they've been waiting for. The gates are open. Fatty acids start flowing out of your fat tissue and into your bloodstream, traveling to the liver, which begins converting them into molecules called ketones. These ketones are small, efficient, and incredibly powerful, and within hours, they begin traveling to your brain. This is where the story starts to get interesting, because most people assume that once the glucose runs out, the brain shuts down, and that's why they fear hunger so deeply. But the brain doesn't shut down. It upgrades. Your neurons, which have spent your entire life running on glucose like a car running on regular gasoline, are now switching to ketones, which is more like switching to jet fuel. Ketones don't just replace glucose as an energy source, they actually burn more efficiently, produce less oxidative waste, and deliver a steadier, cleaner signal to your brain cells. This is why, somewhere around hour 24, many people who are fasting report something unexpected. Instead of crashing, they start to feel unusually clear. The brain fog that haunts so many people every single day, the cloudiness, the slow thinking, the feeling of being mentally underwater, begins to lift. And in its place comes something that feels almost foreign to modern humans. Clarity. Not the artificial buzz of caffeine or sugar, but a quiet, steady alertness that doesn't spike and doesn't crash. Your ancestors felt this every single time food was scarce, because nature designed the fasted brain to be sharper, not duller. When food was hard to find, the humans who became more focused, more creative, and more alert during famine were the ones who survived. The ones whose brains shut down when they got hungry didn't last long enough to pass on their genes. So what you're feeling when your mind sharpens on an empty stomach isn't a coincidence. It's your evolutionary inheritance kicking in. Now let's get into what's happening at a deeper, cellular level, because this is where the real magic begins. And this is what most conversations about fasting completely miss. At around the 24-hour mark, as your body fully commits to running on fat and ketones, something switches on inside your cells that is so powerful, so precisely engineered, and so medically significant that the scientist who discovered it was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2016. That process is called autophagy. The word comes from the Greek roots for self and eating, and when you first hear it described that way, it sounds alarming, like your body is cannibalizing itself. But the reality of autophagy is one of the most elegant, beautiful processes in all of biology. Here's the simplest way to understand it. Every single cell in your body accumulates damage over time. Proteins misfold and clump together. Mitochondria, the tiny engines that produce energy inside your cells, wear out and become inefficient. Cellular debris builds up, old broken pieces pile in the corners, and gradually your cells become cluttered, sluggish, and dysfunctional. This accumulation of cellular junk is one of the primary drivers of aging, disease, and cognitive decline. And under normal circumstances, with food constantly coming in and insulin constantly elevated, your body never fully cleans this up. Autophagy is the cleaning crew. When you fast and insulin drops low enough, your cells activate this ancient recycling system that seeks out every broken, misfolded, damaged, or unnecessary component inside the cell, wraps it up, and breaks it down into raw materials that are then used to build new functional cellular machinery. It's like your cells are running a factory that never stops production. And autophagy is the maintenance team that comes in during the night shift to fix everything that's wearing down. And after 24 to 48 hours of fasting, that maintenance team is working at full capacity. The implications of this are almost hard to overstate. Research has linked autophagy to slowed aging, improved metabolic health, protection against neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, reduced cancer risk, and better overall cellular function. Studies in animals have shown that enhancing autophagy can extend lifespan by meaningful amounts. And while the human research is still catching up, the mechanistic evidence is clear. When you give your body the chance to clean house, it does so with remarkable precision and efficiency. But autophagy is just one piece of what's happening during your fast. Let's keep moving through the timeline, because things get even more remarkable. By the time you hit the 36-hour mark, somewhere in the middle of day 2, you've entered a state of full nutritional ketosis. Your body is no longer dabbling in fat burning. It has fully committed. The liver is now producing ketones at a significant rate. Your muscles have learned to preferentially burn fat so they can spare ketones for the brain. And your blood glucose has settled into a low, stable range that would look perfectly healthy on a lab report. You might expect to feel exhausted at this point. 3 meals skipped, a full night of fasting, and now deep into day 2. Most people assume this is where a person would be dragging themselves around, barely functional. But many people who fast regularly report that day 2 is actually when things start to feel surprisingly good. The hunger pangs that showed up aggressively on day 1 begin to quiet down. This happens for a fascinating reason. Your body starts producing ghrelin, the hunger hormone, in pulses that correspond to your normal meal times. When breakfast time comes and goes, you feel a wave of hunger. When lunchtime rolls around, another wave. But if you wait through it, that wave passes on its own. Because ghrelin is a timed signal, not a sustained alarm. And as your ketone levels rise higher, they begin to suppress appetite directly, creating a natural satiety that makes the second half of a multi-day fast significantly easier than the first. Meanwhile, another hormonal shift is happening that most people would be very excited to hear about. Your growth hormone levels are rising. Not slightly. dramatically. Studies have shown that during extended fasting, human growth hormone can surge to levels 5, sometimes even 10 times higher than baseline. Growth hormone is the hormone responsible for tissue repair, muscle preservation, and cellular regeneration. It's the hormone that keeps your body looking and feeling younger, that helps you recover from injury, that maintains the integrity of your skin, your joints, and your organs. And here's the cruel irony. The foods and eating patterns most people follow every single day, high in refined carbohydrates, frequent meals and snacks, constant insulin spikes, actively suppress growth hormone production. The modern eating pattern, the one we've been told is healthy and normal, keeps growth hormone chronically suppressed. Fasting unlocks it. And as you move further into day 2, with growth hormone elevated, autophagy running at full speed, ketones fueling your brain, and your body burning fat with remarkable efficiency, something changes in how the fast feels. It stops feeling like deprivation. It starts feeling like freedom. Your body is no longer weighed down by digestion. The energy that your digestive system typically consumes, and it consumes a significant amount, roughly 30% of your resting metabolic energy, goes into digestion alone, is now redirected. It goes toward repair, toward regeneration, toward the 1,000 quiet maintenance tasks that your body never has enough bandwidth to complete when it's constantly processing food. Your gut lining, which takes a beating every single day from food particles, digestive acids, and the constant mechanical work of moving food through your intestines, now gets a genuine rest. And it doesn't waste that rest. The cells lining your intestines begin repairing microtears and reinforcing the barrier that keeps bacteria and toxins from leaking into your bloodstream, a condition commonly known as leaky gut. Your liver, which works overtime processing every meal you eat, filtering toxins, managing blood sugar, and producing bile, gets a chance to clear its backlog. Toxins that have been stored in fat cells begin to mobilize and get processed more efficiently. Even your microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in your gut, begins to shift during extended fasting, with research suggesting that periods of fasting can promote greater microbial diversity, and a more diverse microbiome is consistently linked to better immune function, better mood, and better metabolic health. Now let's get to hour 48, because this is when something that sounds almost too remarkable to be real begins to happen. Your immune system starts its own version of a reboot. Researchers at the University of Southern California, led by a scientist named Walter Longo, discovered something that genuinely stunned the scientific community. Prolonged fasting triggers the body to break down old, damaged white blood cells through autophagy, and then, upon refeeding, the stem cells that produce immune cells become dramatically more active, generating a fresh wave of new, healthy immune cells to replace the ones that were cleared out. This is, in the most literal biological sense, an immune system reset. Think about what that means for a moment. We have billions of dollars being spent on pharmaceutical research trying to find ways to rejuvenate the immune system, to treat autoimmune conditions, to improve the body's response to cancer therapies and infectious disease. And buried inside your own biology, completely free, requiring no prescription and no laboratory, is a mechanism that can do exactly this. Triggered simply by not eating for long enough. The implications of this research have led to clinical investigations into using fasting as a complementary approach during chemotherapy. Because early evidence suggests that fasting can both protect healthy cells from chemotoxicity and sensitize cancer cells to treatment, potentially making chemotherapy more effective and less damaging at the same time. This is not fringe science. This is research published in respected peer-reviewed journals, taken seriously by leading oncologists and immunologists around the world. But back to your 72-hour fast, because we're getting close to the end, and the picture that's been building is almost complete. As you move through hours 60 and 70, your body has reached what can only be described as a state of biological mastery. Every system has adapted. Every organ has found its rhythm in the fasted state. Your brain is running clean. Your cells are rebuilt. Your immune system is refreshed. Your fat metabolism is operating with a precision that your ancestors would have relied on to survive months of seasonal food scarcity. And here's something that surprises most people. At this stage, the mental experience of fasting often becomes almost meditative. The mental chatter quiets. The constant preoccupation with what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat, the background noise that most of us don't even realize is running constantly, goes silent. In its place is a clarity of mind and a sense of groundedness that people who fast regularly describe as one of the most unexpected and profound benefits of the entire experience. Part of this is biochemical. Ketones increase the production of a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which acts like a fertilizer for your brain cells, promoting the growth of new neurons, strengthening the connections between existing ones, and building the biological infrastructure for better memory, faster learning, and greater emotional resilience. Higher BDNF levels are consistently associated with better protection against depression and anxiety, and lower BDNF is one of the markers found in people suffering from neurodegenerative diseases. So when people come out of a multi-day fast saying they feel more emotionally stable, more mentally sharp, and more at peace with themselves, they are not imagining it. Their brain chemistry has literally changed during those 72 hours. Part of the mental shift is also psychological, and this is worth dwelling on for a moment. One of the most disempowering beliefs that modern food culture has embedded in us is the idea that we are helpless in the face of hunger. That hunger is an emergency. That the moment our stomach growls, we must respond, or something bad will happen. A 72-hour fast directly and completely dismantles that belief. When you go 3 full days without food and discover that you are not only fine, but actually sharper, stronger, and more energized than usual, something changes in how you understand yourself. You realize that your body is not fragile. It is not the breakable, dependent thing that decades of food marketing have convinced you it is. You discover a reservoir of resilience inside yourself that most people never access, because they never give their bodies the chance to show them what they're capable of. That shift in self-perception, that quiet confidence that comes from knowing your body can handle far more than you ever thought, may be one of the most lasting benefits of the entire experience. Now, here's something that most videos and articles about fasting overlook entirely, but it might be the most important part of the whole process: what you do when the fast ends. Breaking a 72-hour fast is a moment of enormous biological significance, and how you handle it determines whether you capitalize on everything your body has done over the last 3 days, or whether you undo a meaningful part of it in a single meal. When your fast ends, your digestive system is like a machine that's been in sleep mode. Your stomach has produced very little acid. Your intestines have been still and quiet. Your pancreas has barely touched its enzyme reserves. If you immediately eat a large, heavy, rich meal, a burger, a plate of pasta, a bag of chips, you are essentially revving a cold engine to full speed in 1 second. The shock to your digestive system can cause real discomfort, bloating, cramping, nausea, and a rapid spike in blood sugar that crashes just as fast, taking your energy and mood with it. More importantly, that sudden insulin spike cuts off autophagy almost immediately, and the stem cell activity that was primed and ready to build fresh immune cells and repair tissues can be blunted before it fully delivers on its potential. The research on refeeding after extended fasting suggests that the hours immediately after breaking a fast are actually a window of amplified regeneration, a time when the body, having primed its stem cells and cleared its cellular clutter, is ready to rebuild with unusual efficiency. To take full advantage of that window, the first things you put back into your body should be gentle, nutrient-dense, and easy to process. Warm bone broth is ideal. It delivers protein, minerals, and collagen to a digestive system that's ready to receive nourishment but needs to ease back in gently. A small amount of avocado, with its healthy fats and fiber, helps reintroduce solid food without shocking your system. Steamed vegetables, cooked soft and easy to digest, Give your gut the fiber it needs to wake back up gradually. After a few small, gentle meals over the first 12 hours of refeeding, you can begin returning to more normal eating with your digestive system fully back online and your body primed to absorb nutrients with unusual efficiency. People consistently report that food tastes more vivid after a fast. Flavors are more intense. The pleasure of eating is more present. Colors look brighter. And this isn't metaphor. Your sensory pathways become more sensitive after periods of rest and deprivation. And the experience of a simple meal after 3 days of fasting is genuinely one of the most profound eating experiences most people ever describe. So let's take a step back and look at the full picture of what happens inside a human body across 72 hours without food. In the first 24 hours, your glycogen runs out, your insulin drops, your body switches to fat burning, and your brain begins running on ketones. Between 24 and 48 hours, autophagy ramps up to full speed. Damaged proteins and malfunctioning mitochondria are recycled. Your growth hormone surges, your gut lining repairs itself, and your mental clarity begins to sharpen noticeably. Between 48 and 72 hours, your immune system initiates a deep reset. Broken down white blood cells are replaced by freshly generated ones. Inflammation markers drop dramatically. Your microbiome begins to rebalance. And your entire metabolic system recalibrates toward greater efficiency and longevity. And when you break the fast thoughtfully, the stem cells that fasting has primed spring into action, building new tissue, reinforcing immunity, and completing the regeneration cycle that 72 hours of biological engineering made possible. This is not starvation. Starvation is what happens when the body has depleted all its fat reserves and begins breaking down muscle tissue and organ tissue for energy, a state that takes weeks to reach in a healthy person with normal fat stores, not 72 hours. What we've been describing is the opposite of starvation. It is a state of intentional, controlled biological optimization, guided by mechanisms that evolution spent millions of years perfecting, and that modern humans have almost entirely lost access to through the simple act of never stopping eating. Now, is a 72-hour fast right for everyone? No, and this needs to be said clearly. If you have a history of eating disorders, please do not attempt extended fasting without the guidance of a mental health professional. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding, extended fasting is not appropriate for you at this stage. If you have diabetes, particularly type 1, or are on medications that affect blood sugar, you need medical supervision before attempting any significant fast. Because your physiology requires careful management that a standard fast does not account for. If you have a serious cardiac condition or kidney disease, please speak with your doctor before making dramatic changes to your eating patterns. For healthy adults without these conditions, the evidence suggests that periodic extended fasting, done thoughtfully, with proper hydration, electrolyte awareness, and careful refeeding, is not only safe, but potentially one of the highest leverage health interventions available. You don't need expensive supplements. You don't need special equipment. You don't need a gym membership or a nutritionist on retainer. You need the willingness to sit with discomfort for long enough to let your body do what it was designed to do. Because here is the deepest truth that this science reveals. And it's one that cuts against almost everything modern consumer culture wants you to believe. Your body does not need constant input to be healthy. It does not need to be fed every few hours. It does not need the steady stream of products, supplements, and superfoods that the wellness industry profits enormously from selling. What it needs, at least occasionally, is space. Space to clean up. Space to repair. Space to reset the systems that get overwhelmed and cluttered and overstressed when they never get a break. Every single one of your cells is carrying the genetic memory of ancestors who went days without food as a matter of survival, who were built to think more clearly, move more efficiently, and fight harder when food was scarce. That legacy lives in you right now. It is encoded in your DNA, waiting for the signal, the drop in insulin, the rise in ketones, the quiet pause in consumption, that tells your biology to shift from maintenance mode to mastery mode. A 72-hour fast gives your body that signal. And if you've never experienced what the other side of that shift feels like, the clarity, the lightness, the quiet confidence of knowing that your body is doing something remarkable, then you are walking around with one of the most profound human experiences still ahead of you. Not because hunger is noble, not because suffering is healthy, but because deep inside the biology you were born with, there is a system of self-renewal so elegant, so precise, and so powerful that a Nobel Prize was awarded just for discovering one piece of it. And all it takes to turn it on is the courage to pause.